There's a storm brewing in Catalonia right now, and it all concerns an 18-year-old academy product by the name of Gavi. A recent court ruling in favour of La Liga has seen the youngster's status reverted back to that of a youth player, meaning he could leave the club for free this summer. So what on earth is going on over in Spain, and could Barca actually lose one of their top talents? Stay with us to find out. First and foremost, who is Gavi? Pablo Martin Páez Gavira, to give him his full and proper title, was born in August 2004 in the province of Seville, Spain. After scoring 95 goals in 2 seasons for Real Betis' youth team, the 11-year-old Gavi was spotted by scouts from Barcelona's world-famous La Masia Academy, for whom he signed in 2015, and it's safe to say he impressed. The higher-ups at the club were so excited with the raw talent they had on their hands, they promoted him from the under-16s to the under-19s, and fast. His first start for Barcelona B came in March 2021, but the talents of someone like Gavi are not meant for reserve team football, and he soon found himself in and amongst the first team for the 2021 pre-season, having played just 2 reserve team games. And he wasn't there just to make up the numbers either. His first team debut came at the end of August, replacing Sergio Roberto against Getafe, with his first goal for the Catalan Giants coming the following December. Gavi had arrived. Of course, the club were eager to tie the youngster down to a long-term deal, which he gladly signed last summer. What's going on with Barca right now then? Barcelona's relationship with La Liga at the moment is like a road full of potholes. Very bumpy. The league are clamping down on free spending, and rightly so. After the transfer window closed back in January, La Liga released their latest round of salary restrictions, which has proven to be a big problem for Barcelona over the last few seasons. Even with the sale of Memphis Depay in the last window, as well as the retirement of club legend Gerard Piqué earlier this year, they're still over budget. It's thought that the budget amounts to around €650 million, so it's not like they're going to be hung out to dry or anything here. The problem is that the budget is expected to decrease again next season. Barca have already been forced into some asset sales they otherwise wouldn't have chosen to make, but they did have options. They decided on increasing their revenue over the short term instead of lowering wages, which may not have been the best plan for the long term. This included the sale of a quarter of their TV rights over the next 25 years, as well as almost half of their Barca Studios content wing, injecting around €750 million into the faltering accounts of the La Liga giants. In turn, Barcelona were allowed to reinvest in the squad a little, bringing in players like Rafinha and Robert Lewandowski. But La Liga have since moved the proverbial goalposts once again, which could mean Barca are forced to sell, or even worse, lose one of their prized possessions for free. So, what's going on with Gavi's contract? As we briefly mentioned, the young starlet signed his first pro deal with the 5-time Champions League winners back in September, but events have since transpired which appear to have undermined that deal and made it illegitimate. And it's very complicated. The youngster signed the long-term deal whilst he was still registered as a youth player, which included a clause that he could leave for free this summer if he still hadn't been registered as a first-team player. So, what's the problem? He's already a first-team player, isn't he? Well, not quite. The Liga rules state that teams can only change the status of their players during transfer windows. But the league have stopped Barca doing this where Gavi is concerned due to their continual breach of salary limits. This means that technically he's still a youth player, even though he's already signed a full professional contract. Before January's transfer window ended, Barcelona attempted legal action in a bid to force through a ruling which would allow them to change the status of the player. And it worked. The Barcelona court instructed La Liga to change the status of the player and also gave Barcelona 20 days to file a separate case to try and resolve the problem once and for all. Incredibly, the Spanish giants filed the document late, giving La Liga the ammunition they needed to challenge the decision. I mean, this is only one of the biggest clubs in the world. How has that been allowed to happen? So what happens next then? Well, Barcelona only have themselves to blame really. They've accused La Liga of a harassment campaign over the past few years. So why Barca have given them the opportunity to appeal when they had a court ruling in their favour is beyond us. Once La Liga appealed due to Barcelona missing the deadline, the court ruled against the club. Of course. I mean, if you can't get your admin in order, what do you expect? This is only a multi-million euro player who could walk away for free we're talking about. Gavi's status has now been reverted to that of a youth team player. He has also been forced to vacate the famous number 6 shirt once worn by the player he often compared to, Xavi, who is also his current boss. In the short term, this isn't such a big deal. He can still play for Barcelona's first team, but it could have huge implications come to the summer. Having signed a deal which included a whopping €1 billion buyout clause, the youngster could technically leave if La Liga's campaign of playing hardball with one of their biggest clubs continues. This would of course be disastrous for Barcelona, who are currently experiencing financial turmoil. So, how have La Liga and Barcelona gotten to this point? Well, this is a feud that seemed unlikely to die down anytime soon. The real problem started with the financial mismanagement that has blighted so many clubs in recent years. La Liga's firm stance has made it difficult for the Catalan giants to comply with their regulations. It's also reasonable to suggest that if they had managed their finances properly in the first place, they would have never have been in this position where selling Lionel Messi was even a possibility. COVID-19 hasn't helped Barcelona either. I mean, it hasn't had a great effect on any business around the world. But when you're paying your employees millions of euros per week, it's going to hurt when your product is off limits to the masses. For years, Barcelona and Real Madrid have been the shining light in La Liga, attracting fans from all over the world. In a league only rivaled by England's Premier League, league bosses have tolerated their financial bullying, but no longer. As Joan Laporta was re-elected to the role of president back in May 2021, La Liga decided they wouldn't tolerate the antics of his first reign in charge, in what was one of the club's most successful periods between 2003 and 2010. It seems that La Liga bosses are finally growing the cojones to tackle the big boys and make the league a more competitive place to play football, which is an admirable stance. How likely is Gavi to actually leave then? Despite the controversy surrounding the case, it is widely assumed that Gavi has no plans to leave the club. I mean, staying put would almost certainly benefit him, playing under the tutelage of the legendary Xavi, a player who he often draws comparisons to. He has been an ever-present in this season, as the club for Catalonia have opened up a 12-point lead on their nearest and bitterest rivals, Real Madrid. The youngster looks to set claim the first big prize of his career at the end of the season, so leaving doesn't really make sense. The talented 18-year-old has been on the radar for the majority of Europe's top clubs before he signed this new deal at the start of the season, so he would have the pick of the continent should he decide to leave. The usual suspects were looking into the possibility of bringing the young Spaniard in too, with Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp known admirers, as well as Manchester City of course. We all know that no decent player can move around Europe without City at least attempting to thwart any deal for them, without any repercussions from financial fair play. So it's no surprise they were looking at him. Gavi also attracted attention from the likes of PSG and Bayern Munich, but considering where he is currently and the development he's showing under Xavi, a move away from Barcelona seems seriously unlikely. I mean, he's already playing for a club 99.9% of footballers around the world would kill to play for. It just doesn't make sense for him to leave. And finally, a word on his future. Gavi is one of the hottest properties in Europe, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's only 18 years old and already has 18 full international caps to his name. There's no doubting his quality. The youngster looks certain to bag his first La Liga title this season too, with Barca firmly in control of the domestic league title, and they can keep a hold of their little magician in the middle of the park. There's no reason why they can't wrestle the crown of dominance back from Real Madrid for the foreseeable future. Gavi knits everything together beautifully, and it's no surprise he's been compared to both Xavi and Andre Iniesta. Compliments of the highest order. His dribbling, vision and intelligence mean he already has that half a yard on opponents before the ball has even been kicked. Add to that his superb technical abilities, then we could actually be talking about a generational talent here. The youngster looks set for a trophy-laden future in the game. Barcelona will be hoping that his future lies with them, as much as the Liga might try and hamper those ambitions. As always, thanks for dropping in on us today, and don't forget to do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also sharing it with any fans of the game you know of. Bye guys!